Alright, signing in HEXicans Worldwide. We've got an excellent connection, and about to say collection, excellent connection here in Australia. We've got fibre to the house, but comparatively, we still have pretty shit internet. Now, the Australia, ranks as one of the top 3 crypto economies in the world. Now, that's pretty good news for me, being based in Australia. It's pretty interesting to read. I did share this one on LinkedIn. Breaks it down. Number 1 is Germany. Number 2 is Switzerland. Number 3 is Australia. Number 4 is United Arab Emirates. Number 5 is Singapore. Number 6 is Malaysia. Number 7 is the US. And territories. Number 8 is Hong Kong. Number 9 is the Bahamas. That's pretty funny. Number 10 is Taiwan. That's pretty cool. So, where was I going with this? Basically, I remember my old man telling me if things can make it in South Australia specifically, marketing-wise, it can make it anywhere. And, hey, what's happening, Godfather? Thank you for joining me. I'm just going through some stuff, man. I'm just going to be here for a while. I might even get through to reading out some of the SPARS epidemic. But basically, if you can make it marketing-wise in Australia, South Australia specifically, Adelaide, you can make it anywhere. So far, I'm seeing Hex, not thriving yet down under, but cryptocurrency is making it here. And being that there's at least one Hexican in South Australia, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Now, the next thing we've got is this here. Got BitBoy saying double triple confirmation that this week that FTX owner is working behind the scenes to create federal bit license in the US. This will make decentralized and peer-to-peer transactions illegal, according to this tweet. I mean, it's a tweet. I haven't seen any articles or anything like that, but that would suck if they're going to try and push for decentralization and peer-to-peer transactions to be illegal. That makes no sense. That's insane. That is the opposite of innovation. That would stifle any form of growth in the sector. I'm not sure where they're going with that. The only thing that would benefit, the only people that would benefit from this would be the exchanges themselves, because they would then become the only places you can on-ramp and off-ramp into cryptocurrency. Imagine you have, you want to interact with a contract, and the only way to enter in is to get some Ethereum or something like that, and you haven't got a license to trade peer-to-peer, whatever they deem that as. So you can't even send cryptocurrency from your own wallet to another wallet. That would be peer-to-peer technically. That's I cannot see that taking place. I can see you can see a push towards that through a central bank digital currency, whereby your fiat is replaced with something else. Basically, that is then tracked and traced, and then maybe they could control that and not let you spend your own money on whatever you want to. But that's probably a little bit into the future and beyond the scope of this particular podcast. Now, cryptocurrency wise, I'll just leave this here. It's Hedron. Basically, November the 3rd or the 4th, I think, depending on what country you are in. My thoughts on this are people are either going to be bidding for HEX and T-shares or HSIs to get HEX to get T-shares in the future, or they might just be holding it, or they might even be staking it. They're the 3 options that you probably have there. Again, HEX has done amazing things. It continues to do amazing things. There's things, cryptocurrencies being built on top of it, on top of the ecosphere. I can foresee a time where there's not much liquid HEX, because it's all bought up, it's all staked, it's locked away, and then the secondary markets come into play, like the bond market, the staking itself on HEX, and also the Hedrons and the Maxi, and those particular contracts are built around it. Imagine that. And then the dream would be once Hex is $100. I'm pretty sure anyone with a Hex logo will be very well known, very well recognized, especially the ones who are around at this point in time. We would have a pretty interesting group of people, to say the least. Now the next thing we've got is this one here. So it's like, if you don't toe the line with the mainstream media, then you get dropped from particular, like award ceremonies. Pop star dropped from GQ Awards after vaccine tweets. MIA claimed that celebrities who promoted COVID jabbing should be punished for lying. I mean, that's pretty logical. It makes sense. It's truthful. But if you say that out loud, I guess the similarities would be if you say you're a Hexican and then you decide to create another token and then has nothing to do with Hex and then draws all the economic energy away from Hex, and then you start shilling that, and then the Hexicans probably wouldn't appreciate that. But yeah, that's just my take on that. But yeah, I don't like how we still can't talk about the truth. I mean, we see Kanye, he's buying Parler, so hopefully people can go over there, but then you might get this massive group of people that everyone else will then label them conspiracy theorists or right wing or whatever, and then it'll be just a clash, left versus right, all over again. Just more division amongst the people when we should be getting together and basically promoting the truth. Just pointing out that many celebrities, many people in the media did say that this jab was good and it would stop transmission, and now factually that was incorrect. There was no science behind it, and maybe they should be punished for lying. But yeah, now this is a good one. We've got, what a joke, we have Ben Bernanke winning the Nobel Peace Prize for economics. Here we have Obama. I shouldn't laugh though, but that was pretty funny. I was watching Randy's stream before, and then someone mentioned Obama, and instantly I thought, when he won the Nobel Peace Prize, he there was a lot of wars conducted under the Obama administration, and basically for a person to conduct so many, authorize so many wars, how can one then win the Nobel Peace Prize unless there's something not right in that particular system? That is why I would like Richard Hart to win the Nobel Economic Prize. Maybe the T-share function built around the cryptocurrency. But then if he did win that, then that might mean he's a part of the system, and I'm not sure that's a good thing, if you know what I'm saying. I can't see him winning it, basically. But then again, stranger things have happened. Who knows, he might run for presidency. And in the future, when a Hex is $100, everyone could probably back him monetarily, financially. I don't know, maybe. All right, moving on to the Ukraine war. So I don't know. I thought I'd play this out because the other day they said there's NATO drills coming. Here's the actual, Al Jazeera, funded by the Qatari government. Says here on YouTube, but I'll play these through for a little bit, basically saying NATO annual drills have begun. If I can find where is it? Here.
Air forces from across NATO are taking part in the alliance's annual nuclear exercise. The drills involve 14 countries and up to 60 aircraft. They'll conduct.
Yes, it's not just any little drill, it's the entire of NATO conducting their annual nuclear drills. The October surprise, and I think every year Russia holds a similar annual nuclear drill as well. They're all doing their thing, and none of them are backing down. I'll play another clip shortly, and basically what that take is on it, and I'll provide my take on top of that. So I'll play a little bit more of this.
Conduct training flights over Belgium as well as the North Sea and the UK. Meanwhile, Russia is holding its own annual nuclear drills, which usually take place in late October. Natasha Butler has more from Paris.
At a NATO defence ministers meeting in Brussels, Jens Stoltenberg, though, said that NATO would certainly not cancel these exercises this year, and in fact it would not be a good thing to do so. It would send the wrong message, he said, to Moscow at this particularly difficult time when Russia has been...
That is crazy, man. So in this time of uncertainty, they're going to roll in all their equipment, and the equipment is capable of, say, carrying nuclear armed weapons, and the actual, I guess, warheads or the canister or whatever it's being carried in, how is anyone like Russia going to know if it's a dummy or if it's actually real? Maybe they're real, maybe they're not, I don't know. And to put in place that infrastructure and that capability at this point in time, to overlap it with Russian nuclear drills is, yeah, it's really bad. It's basically asking for escalations further. Now, we'll move on to the next section, this little presentation. This guy here, so he is the author of the Bioweapons Treaty. Now, I think, where is his name? Dr. Francis Boyle. Actually requested to go onto the show, from my understanding, after watching this video clip in full, basically saying, warns that the public aren't aware of the true seriousness of the situation with Russia. I think the narrative I've spotted mostly has been that, Russia's getting their ass kicked, generally speaking, but at the same time, they're explaining that maybe Russia is holding back on using full force, because full force could be like all the way full force with what nuclear Armageddon, scaling back a few, maybe not tactical nukes and things like that, but heavier weapons, heavier bombs, things like that, basically devastating all of Ukraine. Could be a possibility, but they, from my understanding, have been holding back. But you have seen the old equipment go in. Again, not a military analyst or anything like that, but just from what I'm seeing, it's very one-sided, the reporting, rightfully so, because imagine if World War I or World War II was fought. I don't think you would want the media telling you that you're potentially losing or things like that. You'd want them to be propping you up, like the propaganda would help the morale of the people. But yeah, so then it's like the question, be for the military-industrial complex, be against the military-industrial complex, which one is it? Let's have a look. We'll play this one just ever so briefly.
You use the metaphor of sleepwalking into World War III. I think that's what the American people are doing here. They're just not aware of how dangerous the situation is. I think if they realize that this is just as, if not even more dangerous than the Cuban Missile Crisis, I would hope the American people would act by impeaching Biden and also a general strike. I don't see right now anything else that can really stop the momentum here, because Biden and the Bidenites are completely impervious to reason. You're perfectly correct on that.
Well, it's important to kiss our children and grandchildren and say our prayers, folks. This is not a game. This is not a joke. I know a lot of military people that are high up, and they are very concerned, really worried.
I'll probably leave it there. I mean, best if you want to check out that analysis. Basically, they're very concerned right now at the state of the planet, and we could literally be leading into some form of larger scale war. It's being labeled as a de facto war now, and I don't think we really want to go there. There is also talk of an impeachment draft bill being passed around. So maybe if that gets looked on, that gets put into the House, into the Parliament, yeah, an impeach Brandon bill might be in the news cycle, but yeah, that's not anytime soon. We do have this, pivoting slightly, same area. EU illegal migration hits highest level since 2016 crisis. Now we see the number of illegal immigrants entering into the EU has surged to the highest level since 2016. Again, the world is in a real bad state. I'm guessing they're coming in from the Middle East and making their way up into the EU as what was the dictator? I think it was Gaddafi. Gaddafi actually said this would probably happen. Now, yeah, moving on. This is there was reports basically that Iran is now helping Russia, and they're using the kamikaze drone strikes. And there was a CNN article before it actually showed how they were deployed. They're sent out in groups of 5, basically trying to gauge their distance they can travel, basically hit their targets. They were saying some of them were being picked off along the way, but some of them are getting through, and you can see here that they are causing damage. Now that does mean that the Iranians are helping the Russians. Again, that's portrayed as an act of desperation, but the fact that Iranians are probably sending in their troops, maybe special forces, in that zone is not good for de-escalation in that particular war zone. Now, we do have here, this is pretty interesting though, why smartphones are getting cheaper while everything is skyrocketing according to the government. Basically, we're seeing, yeah, everything else is getting expensive, but for some reason, our factories are all tuned in to pump out smartphones. For whatever reason, you know. Maybe there's something behind that further, or maybe that just is what it is. This was pretty trippy. Dystopian future. Spooky artificial intelligence found to accurately predict the future by 99%. And it's about to be asked more questions. That's, yeah, okay. So hopefully that's why we all need smartphones, you know, to keep track of that. Anyway. So researchers basically saying at the Max Planck Institute of Science of Light in Germany asked artificial intelligence software to predict how AI progressed. They did this by feeding AI information into academic papers dating all the way back to 1994. Papers were used and it had an accuracy of almost 100%. But I don't know what questions they were asking them. Maybe we could feed into it the hex data and we can see where the price will be in a few years time. Maybe we can ask it when Pulse Channel launch. Now, we do have this. US says Iran's kamikaze drones are breach sanctions, and then this was pretty weird too. Ex-UK pilots hired to help Chinese military. I'm not sure what that is all about. Hopefully they teach them wrong, you know. Now this I saw on Twitter the other day. It's appeared up here again, so I thought I will cover it. This poor guy. Again, not good to make fun of the dead. Basically, there was a professional bodybuilder who trusted the COVID vaccine enough to challenge anti-vax conspiracists to use him as a case study. Suddenly died last week. Again, go through, have a look. You might have seen the tweet on Twitter. Basically, this one here. How it started, how it's going, and I was like, okay, no way to verify that, but apparently it was a real person. It actually happened. Mind you though, he was 63. But yeah, there's some background research if you get a look. Now, since I did cover COVID, it's probably good to have a look at the Australian government website for the official latest news updates and advice from the Australian government, because I might cover this, because otherwise this particular stream may get canned. Yeah, so I thought I'll have a look on here, see if there's any updates. I thought they might cover the XBB variant, but there's no news of that. Basically saying there's new treatments for oral. There is Optus data breach, information in different languages. What do we got? This is pretty interesting. Border restrictions lifted on July 22, so I'm way behind it. Basically, people entering do not need, do not, will not, do not. Basically, other things that are highlighted there. So my question is, how come we went through all of this and everyone got their jab and travel was well restricted and the whole world was put into a state of chaos and the economy was crushed even further? I'm still waiting for the answer. Now, before I close out, I will close out with this, the Symphony of Science, just to show you what a nerd I am. Because I think with all the mad gains we may see from cryptocurrency, maybe we can fund some quantum theory study. Maybe we can fund some longevity research. I don't know. But this Hexicans signing out. Oh yeah, and Ivan on Text coming up soon as well. Peace.
So, what are we really made of? Dig deep inside the atom and you'll find tiny particles held together by invisible forces. Everything is made up of tiny packets of energy born in cosmic furnaces.
The atoms that we're made of have negatively charged electrons whirling around a big bulky nucleus.
The quantum theory offers a very different explanation of our world.
The universe is made of 12 particles of matter, 4 forces of nature. The universe is made of 12 particles of matter, 4 forces.
I actually forgot to cover what I wanted to cover, which was the SPARS outbreak, Chapter 1. Now, I'll read through this ever so briefly. We've got here the SPARS pandemic. I'm sure you've all are aware of this. If not, you're about to be, if you have tuned in for this long. Now, we got page 1, right? Page 4, chapter 1. I'll read a few lines of it. I might do this every day until the whole thing's read out and the whole thing's uploaded. We got this SPARS outbreak begins. Chapter 1. The St. Paul Chronicle. It even has a breakdown of how it begins. It has a headline. It's saying the 3rd death in a week due to unknown illnesses. The twin sites. Yeah, check this out. It's like a full-on breakdown. It's crazy. We then have, in mid-October 2025, 3 deaths were reported among members of the First Baptist Church of St. Paul, Minnesota. 2 of the church members had recently returned from a missionary trip to the Philippines, where they provided relief to victims of regional floods. The 3rd was a mother of a church who had also traveled to the Philippines with a church group, but who had only been mildly sick himself. Based on the patient's reported symptoms, healthcare providers initially guessed they had died from seasonal influenza, which health officials predicted would be particularly virulent and widespread that fall. However, laboratory tests were negative for influenza. Unable to identify the causative agent, officials at the Minnesota Department of Health Public Health Laboratories sent the patient's clinical specimens to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, where scientists confirmed that the patients did not have influenza. Once, one CDC scientist recalled reading a pro-med dispatch describing the emergence of a novel coronavirus in Southeast Asia and ran a pan-coronavirus RT-PCR test. A week later, the CDC team confirmed that the 3 patients were in fact infected with a novel coronavirus, which was dubbed the St. Paul Acute Respiratory Syndrome, SPARS, coronavirus, SPARS-CoV or SPARS. After the city where the first cluster of cases had been identified. And, okay, so this is the textbook I'm reading from. The CDC monitored the situation closely, working with partners in Southeast Asia to quickly develop a cause definition for SPARS. Within 4 weeks of the CDC publishing a work case definition on its website, nearly 200 suspected cases of SPARS were reported across Minnesota and in 6 other states. Given that flu season was just getting underway and the rapid diagnostic test for SPARS-CoV infection was not yet available, CDC officials could not be sure if these were in fact true cases of SPARS. Nevertheless, on November 17th, HHS Secretary Dr. Sindra Nagel notified the WHO, World Health Organization, about the US cluster of SPARS cases, concerned that the outbreak might constitute a public health emergency of international concern, PHEIC. As transmission of SPARS was determined to occur via droplet spread, the CDC initially recommended that everyone diligently maintain hand hygiene and frequently disinfect potentially contaminated surfaces. CDC officials further urged anyone with severe flu-like symptoms to seek immediate medical attention. Public health officials were concerned that the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday and Black Friday shopping activities would facilitate the spread of the SPARS, but they remain confident that the awareness and prevention messages disseminated annually for seasonal influenza combined with isolation procedures for suspected cases would be effective at countering the spread of SPARS. These messages were spread via a variety of traditional and social media sources, including Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, and ZapQ. ZapQ obviously does not exist in the real world. Concern among many Americans about the severity of SPARS at this point in the outbreak was moderately high. The public's concern was compounded by the apparent virulence of the pathogen. At the outset of SPARS outbreak, physicians understanding the disease stemmed primarily from extremely severe cases resulting in pneumonia or hypoxia that required hospitalization and extensive medical treatment. Mild cases of the disease, which produced symptoms including cough, fever, headaches, and malaise, were often perceived as the flu by the people who had them, and consequently often went untreated and undiagnosed by medical personnel. As a result, early case fatality estimates were inflated. By late November, the CDC reported an initial estimate SPARS case fatality rate of 4.7%. By contrast, WHO reported that the overall case fatality rate for SPARS was 14 to 15% and over 50% for people over the age of 64. Later in the SPARS outbreak, data that included more accurate estimates of mild SPARS cases indicated a case fatality rate of only 0.6%. Okay, this is like the third page in. Now, two additional features of the SPARS virus that were not appreciated at the beginning of the pandemic, but that impacted how the outbreak played out, are also important to consider in a review of this event. First, the virus had an extended incubation period, 7 to 10 days, compared to its latent period, 4 to 5 days. Thus, infected persons could spread the virus for up to nearly a week before showing symptoms of the disease themselves. As a result, isolating sick SPARS patients provided to be less effective than isolating patients infected by other, better characterized respiratory diseases. Secondary morbidity and mortality from SPARS were both significantly higher in children than adults. Pregnant women and those with chronic respiratory conditions like asthma and emphysema were also at higher risk for both disease complications and death. So, chapter 1, right? This is a textbook, and it says here, we actually have, after this particular outbreak on the see, like there's tweets and what the tweets would actually represent, right? This is like not a playbook as in it was like intentionally rolled out, but it's like how one would respond to the exact same situation that actually was rolled out. And in this chapter, it then goes on to explain it's the communications dilemma. It's like a textbook on how to deal with this. The communication dilemma. Endangering public trust and a sense of self-efficacy when a crisis is still evolving and health information is incomplete. Food for thought. Question 1. How can health authorities best meet public demands for critical information such as what is the health threat and what do I know about it? When the crisis is still unfolding and all the facts are not known. When the crisis is still unfolding and not all the facts are known. Question 2. What benefits does monitoring trends in social media postings confer on efforts to meet people's information needs during an evolving health crisis? Question 3. What medical and morale boosting purposes does sharing information about a self-protective actions, e.g. infection control measures, serve for the public during an uncertain and fear-instilling situation? It is literally play for play. It is very similar to what actually took place. Now, this book goes on for a few chapters. It even says how it ends. So I'll read that on my next live stream. Thank you for tuning in, where we will cover chapter 2. And hopefully nuclear Armageddon hasn't continued. And hopefully the cryptocurrency market decides to get out of its little rut. I don't think it will, because risk on asset, interest rates, geopolitical events, etc., etc. And yeah, signing out again, but this time for real, with my favorite song of all time, because we need to find a solution for quantum theory and longevity and life extension.
Forces of nature, that's a wonderful and significant story. Suppose that little things behaved very differently than anything big. Nothing's really as it seems. It's so wonderfully different than anything big. The world is a dynamic mess of jingling things. It's hard to believe.
The quantum theory
It's so strange and bizarre. Even Einstein couldn't get his head around it.
In the quantum world, the world of particles, nothing is certain. It's a world of probabilities.
The quantum theory offers a very different explanation of our world.
The universe is made of 12 particles of matter, 4 forces of nature. The universe is made of 12 particles of matter, 4 forces of nature. That's a wonderful and significant story.
It's very hard to imagine all the crazy things that things really are like.
Electrons act like waves, no they don't exactly. They act like particles, no they don't exactly.
We need a theory of everything, which is still just beyond our grasp. We need a theory of everything, perhaps the ultimate triumph of science.
Offers a very different explanation of our world.
The universe is made of 12 particles of matter, 4 forces of nature. The universe is made of 12 particles of matter, 4 forces of nature. That's a wonderful and significant story.
I gotta stop somewhere. I'll leave you something to imagine.